Welcome to another episode of the Zero to Profits podcast, a place where I provide strategies for entrepreneurs to scale their businesses and increase their cash flow by at least $100,000. I'm Coach Mack, and for today, let me ask you a question. Did you ever know that you could be losing thousands of dollars every single month and not even know it? How, you may ask? Well, there's three reasons. You could either be overpaying on taxes, you could be wasting money on things you don't need, or you could be losing profit because your numbers don't add up. And the worst part, the IRS could be watching your business right now, just waiting to hit you with penalties and audits. If that sounds like you, what I want you to do is I want you to stick around, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to help you unlock one of the biggest keys to increasing your cash flow by at least $100,000 this year. So in this video, I'm going to show you how bookkeeping, yes, bookkeeping, can actually put more money in your pocket, reduce your taxes, and even free up your time. Even if you hate numbers, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to do three things: fix your books, avoid IRS nightmares, and finally feel in control of your money. All right, so who is this video for? I guess before I get into that, let me ask you something. You're making money in your business. On paper, you're doing well. Maybe you've hit $250,000, $300,000, or even $500,000 in revenue this year. But let me guess, it doesn't feel like you made that much. You check your bank account and it's lower than what you expected, right? You get to the end of the month and you're scrambling to pay your bills. You're working harder and harder than ever, but somehow there's still nothing left for you, right? Or matter of fact, let's just be real. Do you actually even know where your money's going? Like if I asked you right now, how much did you spend on software last month? Could you really just tell me that? Or how about this? How much of your revenue actually turned into profit? What about how much money are you owed by clients right now? I want to tell you a true story. I worked with a client in the past. Her name was Chandra. She ran a successful business and she made over $400,000 in a year, right? But then one day she got hit with an IRS audit. When that audit came, she actually thought she was fine because, she made money. She was paying her people, profit left over. She paid her taxes or whatnot. But then when that audit hit, she realized that her books were a disaster. She couldn't find receipts. She had unfiled expenses. Numbers didn't even add up, right? And guess what? The IRS didn't care about any of that. She ended up paying thousands in penalties. And worst of all, she lost valuable time. She lost valuable energy. And then the IRS did have no trust in her business. And then she even lost trust and she ended up selling the business. Does any of that sound familiar to you? You didn't start your business to be stressed out about money. But right now, money is stressing you out every single day. So where's all this money going? Why does it feel like you're just spinning your wheels, right? I'll tell you why. That's because your books are a mess and your numbers aren't telling you the truth. But I don't necessarily want you worrying or stressing about that, because I'm going to help you fix that today through this video. Okay, so what if I told you that bookkeeping isn't just about tracking expenses? It's the secret weapon that most or even top business owners use to grow fast and stay profitable. And the thing is, most business owners get this wrong, and it costs them tens of thousands of dollars. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to take control of your business finances without doing all this extra work. You'll see how bookkeeping helps you make better decisions. In addition to that, you will see how it also helps you pay less in taxes. And overall, the transformation that we'll hope that you'll get out of this is that it'll also help you stop guessing about your money. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, all this sounds great, but fixing my bookkeeping sounds like a whole huge job. I ain't got the time for it. I actually don't even have the skills. I don't even know where to start. Here's the good news. You don't need as much as you think to get this right. In fact, you don't need any of those things that most business owners assume that they need in order to have clean, accurate, profitable books, right? You don't need to be good at math. You don't need to spend hours every week tracking numbers. And you definitely don't need to do it all by yourself. I've seen business owners double their profits just by making a few simple bookkeeping tweaks without even trying to add a whole ton of extra work to their plate. So before you tell yourself you can't do this, let me give you the truth. There are 5 things you don't need to finally take control of your finances. So for instance, very first thing, you don't need a background in accounting. You don't need any fancy software spreadsheets. You definitely don't need to do it all by yourself. You don't need to spend hours every week tracking numbers, and you definitely don't need to be perfect with money. The one thing that you do need, you need to know what's happening with your finances. Now, before we dive deeper, let me tell you why I'm different from every other finance, bookkeeping, or tax expert that you've ever heard. So, the first thing, I don't teach theory. I don't throw numbers at you just to sound smart. And I definitely don't expect you to run your business like a CPA. Because let's be real, you are an entrepreneur, not an accountant. I've worked with business owners making 250,000, 500,000, even a million in sales or more, and they all struggle with the same thing: cash flow. A lot of them still overpay on their taxes, and a lot of them still feel broke at the end of the month. So there's no difference. There's no difference between what you're going through and what these people go through. And most of the time, the problem wasn't with their sales, it wasn't with their marketing, it wasn't even with their pricing. A lot of times it's because their books are just a straight up mess, right? They don't know where their money's going. They wasn't even tracking their finances properly. And then a lot of them, they just out here just guessing, not even knowing, right? So, and then let's just even go to the accounting industry, right? Don't even let me get started on those folks, right? In my opinion, I think the accounting industry right now, as of today, I really do think they're set up to try to keep business owners in the dark. Like, you literally have accountants out here trying to be slick on one hand, selling you these little $97 a month bookkeeping things, right? I see them on Facebook all the time, talking about some, bookkeeping this, bookkeeping that, we'll do it for $97. And I'm like, all right, whatever. On the other hand, then you have some of these CPAs or some of these bookkeepers selling you, like, I even see some Facebook ads, somebody saying bookkeeping is a whole waste of time. And then to top that off, you have some CPAs out here giving out like complicated reports. When they talk to you, they talk to you in confusing language. Then, like, when they kind of give you the financials, they're using like outdated methods that make it nearly impossible for people like you to even take control of your own numbers, right? A lot of it really is that scarcity mindset, right? It feels like it's all about survival. Like, they're just trying so hard to kind of keep what they know. I call them gatekeepers, right? They're trying to keep what they know within and don't want to let it out. They want you to feel dependent upon them. But you see, that's where I'm different. I don't just give you the numbers, right? I'm going to give you strategy. I'm going to show you how to use those numbers to make smarter and more profitable decisions. I make bookkeeping so simple that you can finally get paid what you're worth, stop paying on these overpaying on these taxes, and then you can actually scale your business the right way. I've developed a system that helps you do all of this in just minutes a month, right? You don't have to get overwhelmed. You don't have to waste any hours. You don't even have to feel like you need a whole accounting degree to run your business, right? So if you've ever felt like bookkeeping is just too complicated, too boring, or too much work, I'm here to completely change the way you see that. Because bookkeeping isn't just about numbers. It's about unlocking more cash, more profits, and more control over your business than you've ever had before. And I'm going to prove it to you. But first, before we get to that, I'm going to clear up some common misconceptions, because most business owners think they need way more than what they actually need to get their finances in order. Okay, so let me tell you about my client, George. George is literally the definition of a hardworking entrepreneur. He runs a successful restaurant here in Houston, and he pulls in about $1 million a year in sales. On paper, he's crushing it. But prior to COVID or during COVID, he actually was drowning. His bank account was constantly on edge. Some months he had cash, other months he was barely scraping by. He worked insane hours, but still wasn't paying himself what he deserved. And tax season was a complete nightmare. Every year prior to coming to me, he felt like he was throwing money into a black hole. And the crazy part, he wasn't even doing anything wrong. He was just running his business the way most people do, without a solid handle on their numbers. So when he came to me, the first thing he did, or the first thing I did, was basically dug into his books, right? And guess what I found? Within minutes, I found 3 major cash leaks that were bleeding his business dry. You want to know what those were? All right, cool. Number one, he was overpaying at least $33,000 in taxes every single year. The reason why he was doing that was because he wasn't tracking all his deductions. For example, he wasn't writing off the improvements that he made to the store when he first opened up the restaurant. That alone was a $500,000 expense. Then his business expenses weren't categorized the right way. Worst of all, he had no idea that he was missing out on legal tax write-offs, right? Number two, he was paying for 27 different subscriptions. Most of them he didn't even use, right? Things like software, things like just little random tools, memberships, things that seem small, but they added up to over $1,800 a month. That's almost $22,000 a year wasted on things that he didn't even actually need. Number three, he had over $40,000 of unpaid invoices. Now, he, in his restaurant, he offered catering, but what the issue was, he wasn't charging up front, nor was he collecting some type of deposit on this stuff, right? He was just kind of making the orders as they came, and he just, obviously he was delivering them and then billing them later, right? But the issue, what happened was clients were taking their time to pay him, and he really wasn't following up aggressively. So he was doing the work, even delivering the results. Food tastes good, got rave reviews, all of this, right? But he wasn't getting paid on time. Now, here's the fun part of this. George didn't even have to work harder or even sell more to even fix this problem. All he needed was a better bookkeeping system. So all we did was put three things in place. The first thing we did was we gave him a tax strategy. We restructured his books, categorized expenses correctly, and then instantly he was able to save over almost $33,000 in taxes that year, right? Then we took him through what we called an expense audit. We went through his bank statements. We cut every single unnecessary expense, right? And what we ended up doing was putting another $22,000 back in his pocket. Last thing, we kind of talked to him about adding a payment system, right? So what we did was we helped him set up automated invoice reminders and required deposits up front for his service, right? Now, what that did was those $40,000 of unpaid invoices, we ended up working with him to get those paid within 60 days. Now, if you add all that up, over the year that we worked with him, we helped him save over $90,000, right? He didn't have to work harder for that. He didn't have to go out and find new customers. He didn't have to spend a single extra hour on sales. Y'all may think about it, says, oh, well, he's special, $90,000. That's a whole lot of money. I'm not doing that type of sales. I'm not doing, I don't have those type of expenses. But I'm going to tell you something. George's story was not unique. I see it all the time. Business owners who are making great money, but they still struggle because their books are a mess. And the sad part, most of them don't even know that they have a problem until it's too late. So let me ask you something. How much money are you leaving on the table? How much money are you overpaying in taxes? How much profit is slipping through the cracks because you don't have a clear financial system in place? I'm telling you right now, you don't have to work harder to make more money. You just have to manage the money that you have better. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today. Okay, so we've talked about why bookkeeping is so important and how much money you might be losing without even knowing it. So let's just get into the real reason why you're here. Because it's one thing to know that you have a problem, but it's another thing to actually fix it. So right now, I'm going to break it all down for you, right? I'm going to show you exactly what you need to track, what's driving your profit, and what's draining your cash flow. And then as a result, how to make smarter financial decisions, right? Without adding more work to your plate. And by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to take control of your money so you can finally keep more of what you make. So let's just get started. So when it comes to your books, I want you to remember this saying: what gets measured gets managed. If you don't know your numbers, you are running your business blind. I'm going to give you 5 important financial measures that you need to track. Number 1, revenue versus profit. When it comes to small business, most small business owners, they focus only on revenue. How much sales they getting in, how many people walking in the door, how much people are paying, right? If you make $500,000 a year, that's okay. That's those are good numbers, but it means nothing if it costs you $495,000 to make those sales, right? Another key point: profit is what you keep, not what you make. If you made $500,000 in sales and it cost you $495,000, that means your profit was only $5,000, right? You worked all that time, spent all that time only to make $5,000. Here's an action step I want you to take. I want you to look at your revenue and subtract all of your expenses. How much is actually left over? If it's less than 15%, you have a problem. Okay, so number 2, gross profit margin. What gross profit margin does is it tells you how much you're actually making after covering your direct cost of goods or services. So for example, if you sell a product for $100, but it costs $70 to produce, your gross profit margin is 30%. How we get to that is we take the 100 minus the 70, that's $30 of gross profit. Take that gross profit and divide it by the sales price. That's how you get your gross profit margin, right? Now, but Meg, I don't sell products. I have a service-based business. Okay, cool. Let's Let's look at it as if you're in a service-based business, right? So let's say you're in the service industry. Maybe you own a hair salon. Your direct costs will be your staff, your shampoos, your gels, your creams, or any other materials that you use in your style appointments, right? Now, you don't directly sell those, you may not directly sell those things, but they're part of they're part of the service that goes into that style that you have, right? So same example still applies. If you sell something, if you sell a style appointment for $100 and you add up the cost that you would have for your staff, you will add up the shampoo, gels, and creams with all that together. Basically, whatever the difference is, that is your gross profit, and you take that number divided over $100. That's your gross profit margin. Now, here's the thing in a small business: you want your gross profit margin to be at least 40% or higher if possible. I personally like trying to keep that thing at 50 or 60%. But 40% is a decent number, right? So now here's an action that we're going to take, right? I want you to check your financials. What percentage of sales are you actually turning into profit? If it's too low, it's time to look at raising your prices or maybe cutting costs. So number 3, net profit margin. This is one of my favorite ones, right? And probably everybody's most favorite number in the business, right? Because it tells you exactly what's left after everything is paid. So, important point: if your sales are under 5 million and you have a net profit margin that's under 10%, your business is struggling. A healthy business should aim for at least a 30% net profit margin. So now, action step for this one. Let's look at your last 3 months of financials and let's calculate what your net profit margin is, right? If it's too low, you need to either increase sales or cut those expenses or do both at the same time. Number 4, accounts receivable and payable. If your business can look profitable on paper but still be broke, a lot of times that's because clients aren't paying you on time. I know firsthand of this problem, and it can break a business. Listen, cash flow problems don't happen because of bad sales. They happen because of bad collections. Here is my easy solution for this, right? You can take my advice if you want to. If your business is doing under $5 million, do not sell on credit. Listen to me. People will delay paying you. And when they delay paying you, you still have bills, you still have employee payroll that is due, and that stuff has to be paid on time, right? If you don't have the constant sales volume to support credit sales, don't start doing it, right? Now, you can be hard-headed if you want to. Should you decide to sell on credit, right? Be smart about it. Set clear payment terms. Instead of maybe doing net 30, maybe do net 15, right? Automate your invoice reminders, right? Matter of fact, make them leave a payment method on file so you can do an auto payment every month. Maybe you do a draft every month off their card or off their account, right? Another smart solution would be partnering with credit companies like Affirm or Klarna for services if they qualify, right? That way, Klarna and Affirm can take the risk of the late payments and the missed payments and that type of thing, and you still get your money. Number 5, cash flow. You don't run out of money because your business isn't making sales. You run out of money because your cash flow is broken. You don't have a process, right? Of making sure that your cash is intact, right? So here's how we're going to fix that. We want to keep 3 months of expenses in a cash reserve at all times, right? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start tracking cash flow weekly, not just waiting until the end of the month, not just waiting until the end of the quarter or even at the end of the year, right? You do that, you're going to lose money. So here's the immediate action step that you can take right now today to get your cash better, right? We're going to check cash flow every Friday. We're going to know what's coming in and what's coming out. All righty. So now you know the 5 most important financial numbers you need to track, right? But knowing your numbers is only the first step, right? So the next question is how do we actually make more money and keep more of it? Because here's the truth. More sales don't automatically just mean more profit, right? You can make 6 or 7 figures or even 8 figures and still feel broke if your business isn't structured the right way. So instead of just focusing on the revenue, what we're going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about the 5 biggest profit drivers. These are the things that actually move the needle in your business and put more money in your pocket. Because once you understand these 5 profit drivers, you'll know exactly how to grow your business without working harder and adding more stress to your plate. So, what are profit drivers? Let me break down what profit drivers for a small business means in simple terms. I'm going to explain it like I'm explaining it to a friend. I want you to think of profit drivers as key things that help your business make more money, right? So, here are the main ones. You got to charge the right price. You got to be able to get customers to buy more from you. You got to be able to keep your costs down. You got to be able to manage your cash smartly. And then last but not least, you got to break even, right? So let's start with break even. When it comes to understanding break even, most business owners work hard because they don't actually know if they're running a profitable business, right? And the reason for that, a lot of them, they don't understand their break even points. So your break even point is the amount of revenue that you need to generate to cover all of your expenses. So you got to be able to break even before you even make a profit. So that's why this is one of your most important profit drivers. If you can't pay for your expenses, then there's no way you're going to make a profit. So if you don't know this number, you could be grinding and hustling every day and still not break even without even realizing it. And that's a shame. All right, true story, true story. I got a perfect story for break even. So I had a client of mine. He owned a gym. This is about 10 years ago, right? When he opened this gym, he took it over from another person. And when he got in there, I mean, sales, his sales jumped up to immediately to about 25,000 a month. Oh man, he thought he was doing great. He was like, "Yo, I'm sky high, man. 25,000 a month. That's gonna give me about 300 grand a year, man. Man, I'm gonna be rolling in the dough. I'm gonna end up trying to. He had all these plans about scaling to another gym and kind of like maybe starting a franchise and all this type of stuff. But then it happened, right? Rent started to become due. He had to, pay for insurance. He had to, pay for utilities. Then the AC unit went out and he had to replace the AC units. Now, he was also running tournaments in this gym and, you know, the fees to pay for like refs, pay for insurance, pay for like liability insurance and all this other stuff that started happening. And before you know it, his bank account started to dwindle, right? So he came to me and was like, "Hey, bro, like I need your help, man. I really need to figure out what's going on, man. Because man, when we started, man, my account was at this number, and now it's down here, man, and I'm not understanding what's going on." So the first thing I did was I said, "Look, let's run a break even analysis to kind of see where you are and kind of where the business is." By the time I ran that break even analysis, he was doing about 25,000 in sales, but his expenses were about 24,000 a month. And I'm like, bro, you're working 60 plus hours a week in this gym, and you've put all this money into this gym, but you're only making barely $1,000 a month. You know, ain't no franchise. Like, man, one repair, you're gonna go under, right? If this gym needs another AC unit, this gym is gonna go under. You're gonna have to like start borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. Just using this example, now you can see how break even works, right? Break even is the amount of revenue that you need just to cover the cost before you make a profit. But here's the problem. If your prices are too low, you'll always be chasing that break even number instead of actually making money. So this is where pricing comes in, right? If you don't charge enough, you'll always be struggling to stay ahead. But when you charge the right price, your profit margins will grow and suddenly your business will start working for you instead of the other way around. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the next profit driver, and that's charging the right price. So you want to know one of the fastest ways to increase your profits? Charge what you're actually worth. And I'm telling myself this as I'm speaking to you, right? Most business owners, me included, are underpriced, right? A lot of it is, man, I'm gonna be straight up. We're just actually afraid to charge more because we think these customers won't pay, right? But here's the truth that I'm finding out more and more. People pay for value, not just price, right? So let me give you an example of somebody I work with, right, who was seriously underpriced, right? So I worked with a marketing consultant who was charging like 500 a month for her services, right? She was overworked and underpaid, seriously underpaid. I mean, this lady was so stressed out, right? She came to me for bookkeeping help. We analyzed her pricing and realized that she could have easily charged $1,000 a month without even losing her best clients, right? So we kind of gave her, a couple of ideas, got our books together and everything. And let me tell y'all what happened, right? So what happened basically was in the beginning, yes, right? She raised her prices, gradually to $1,000. And yes, she did lose some customers in the beginning. But the strangest thing happened. Over the next 6 months after she started to adjust her pricing, she started to onboard a whole new set of clients. They were better, they were more engaged, they were more serious, and they were willing to pay more because they saw the value in what she was offering, right? As a result, she ended up doubling her revenue and cut the amount of clients she needed to have the same amount of income in half, right? And what it did for her is it actually gave her a chance to actually breathe and really enjoy her business. And it really allowed her to get to the point where she was actually doing the things that she loved in her business, right? So pricing is very, very, very important. If you see these things in your business, 9 times out of 10, you're probably undercharging, right? So let's talk about it. So number one, are you constantly busy, but you're not making enough money? Maybe even number two, do you attract customers who every time you kind of give them an offer, it feels like they're trying to nickel and dime you? They're always asking about the price. They always saying, "Oh, well, last time I paid this," or maybe somebody down the street is paying this. Oh man, hey, do you have any discounts? Right? Because such and such over here is charging such and such, and I just want to make sure that I'm not overpaying, right? Okay, maybe not those two, but okay, let's look at number three. Have you been charging the same amount for years without adjusting your prices? If that is you, you're undercharging for your services, right? So we're going to take an action step. What I want you to do is I want you to raise your prices by 10 to maybe even 20%. And let's see what happens, right? Now, I know a lot of y'all panicking right here, especially if you are in a business and you're a full-time business owner like myself, right? Because I mean, obviously, when I first started doing that, I mean, man, the emotion and the gumption that just kind of came, the fear that kind of came was unraveling, right? Because it's like, hey, look, this is my livelihood. If I go from a certain number to a certain number, I'm gonna lose all my people, right? That's the first thing that thought it came in my head. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you are nervous to do it with your current clients, then just start with your new clients, and then as you build that up, then go back and raise the price, the prices on those that have been with you, right? Just gradually do it, and you'll notice that you'll start to see that your client churn will turn for the better. You'll start to get better clients coming in. Now that you're charging the right price, you might be wondering, but what if I lose those customers, right? Well, first of all, right customers will always pay for value, right? And that's what we talked about, right? The ones you want are the ones that want to pay for value anyway. And second, there's another way to boost your profits without chasing new clients, right? And that's getting customers to buy from you more often. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into that next profit driver, how to get more customers to buy from you again and again. Okay, so I want to make another important point here, right? You don't need more customers to make more money. You just need to get the ones that you already have to buy from you again and again, right? Most businesses focus on acquiring new customers, but the real money is in keeping the existing ones you have happy and getting them to buy more. That is what we call a lifetime customer value, right? Increasing that value. That makes your business valuable. And when you go to sell, it makes your valuations go up as well, right? However, here's how businesses lose money. A lot of them, they sell to customers once and they never follow up, right? If they don't offer upsells, premium services, or additional products, well, people just tend to just have they just treat this business as a transaction. They pay, they move on, and they forget about it, right? Now, also what they do is they let their customers cancel without even offering something better, right? Like just think about like Walmart, think about some of those like volume type of transactional business, right? A lot of them just come in, they come in and just do a transaction. They don't try to upsell them or anything, right? It's more like, hey, look, you're here, pay for your stuff and move on, right? So Getting them to pay again and again, like I said, increases that customer value and gets them to kind of buy over and over, and it makes your business more valuable. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys an example of a client who I think does a really good job of getting customers to buy again and again. Her name is Nita, and she runs a spa, a med spa business, right? When she started that business, she introduced a membership service, right? So it started out very well. Now, I will say there was a little bit of a point there where after a couple of months, those members were canceled and they were kind of looking at other places and just kind of doing some price comparison shopping, right? But Nina was very, very smart. One of the things she did to pivot was she said, okay, well, look, if these people want to go and look at price, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift and maybe make my offers around value. So what she did was she introduced a VIP membership and she added some other personal packages that kind of were specialized to each individual person. Some of the things that she did was she sent out re-engagement emails, got those folks back, called them up, got them all back. The result, they ended up spending 4 times more than on average per year when based on when you compare the times when they were originally there to when after she started coming up with those offers, right? So with that example, I want to kind of tell you about, okay, well, look, how do we increase our customer value? So we can offer bundles and upsells, right? What's the next best thing that your customer needs? You can also introduce subscriptions and maybe even ask for a retainer package, right? Getting that predictable income is key. It can actually pay your bills if you do it right. The next thing we can do is just do a simple follow-up, right? Follow-up emails are important, right? If you check in with them, you can find out that you can potentially have a way to bring back old customers, right? Maybe the first time they came, they were rushed, they wasn't really paying attention, they really didn't they just came in for the service, and it's kind of an in and out type of transaction. But having that follow-up email may have them slightly remember the experience and may want to give you just another shot to introduce yourself, right? So those follow emails can be very, very important. Now, I'm gonna give you an action step. What I want you to do is I want you to find one way to get your customers to buy from you again, right? This could be an upsell, this could be a subscription, this could be even a VIP offer, right? So by doing that, let's see if we can get those people to continue to buy and buy again. Let's increase that lifetime customer value. Now, we've covered 3 powerful ways to increase your profit, right? So we've talked about break even. We've talked about charging the right price. We've talked about getting the customers to buy more and more from you, right? But let me ask you this question. We didn't talk about all this, getting more money, but what happens if your expenses are still eating up your profit? Here's the truth. You can increase your revenue all day long, right? But if your costs are still high, you're still going to be broke. So let's go into the next profit driver, keeping your costs down the smart way. So one of the biggest reasons business owners struggle is because they struggle with cash flow, right? A lot of times it's not a revenue problem, it's a cost problem. So let's talk about how to actually keep your costs down in a way that actually helps your business grow instead of cutting in the wrong places, right? So I'm going to give you some tips of what I do when I look at clients' books and look at how they waste money. So over the years, right? So, like for instance, one of the first things I look at is I look at subscriptions and software, right? So, like most business owners, when they get into these businesses, right, they sign up for like a lot of different tons of like software tools and memberships over the years, things that you thought you used or that you'd want or use, but you really never really needed, right? There's like money hidden in some of that stuff, right? So, like for instance, I told you about my client George, but then I had another client who spent over $2,500 a month in just various subscriptions, right? What we did was we found ways to like get him down to $300, and we didn't lose anything important. So now another one that we looked at was like we look at the cost of what you're paying for vendors and services, right? So especially the longer you're in business, most businesses tend to stick with the same vendors and like suppliers for years, right? Without even negotiating prices. But here's the thing: suppliers, providers, even contractors will lower their rates if you just simply just ask the question, right? So, for example, a plumbing company I worked with just like last week realized that they were paying way too much for their supplies, right? What they did was they ended up just making a simple call to their supplier, and they realized that, hey, we've been overpaying for all these years. We've been with you for 10 plus years. Can we have a discount this year? Right? Because they spend millions with this company, and they got an immediate 15% discount just for asking. Now, another one, and it's quite major, is one of the things we look at, for clients is we actually look at labor costs, right? So you can actually have inefficient labor costs in your books and not even realize it. So just so you know, payroll is like one of the biggest expenses for businesses, right? And if it's not managed well, it can eat away at your profits fast. So, like for instance, bringing on employees just because you can sometimes, just because you want them there, may not necessarily be efficient, right? So hiring full-time employees when really you could have just had them part-time or even as contractors could be cost effective, right? Also, and I had to kind of go through this myself, right? Just kind of keeping or holding on to underperforming team members instead of replacing them with higher value employees because it's cheaper labor, right? They're not being paid as much, and he's like, well, look, I'm saving by having these people, but they're just underperforming. You don't want them. You don't really need them around like that, right? Then the last thing is when you do have employees, if they don't have clear jobs like roles or whatever, right? That could lead to like wasted time and inefficiency, right? So one of the metrics that I track is utilization, right? How are we spending our time, and is our time being used effectively, right? So a good example is a business owner that I've worked with, right? They had a full time assistant. It cost them like 50,000 a year, right? But as we started looking at things like utilization, what like that, the system was spending their time on, we realized that the role only really required 20 hours a week, right? So what the owner ended up doing was they ended up moving that person over to more of like an operational role so they can actually be directly tied to revenue, and then they just brought in a part-time assistant, virtual assistant, right? And was able to save like 90% of that cost, right? This is, hey, look, I don't need to pay $50,000 for an assistant. We can save like 90% of this just by having somebody virtual help me out with some of these tasks, right? So we want to make sure that we just kind of review those things just to make sure that we're not spending money in wasted areas. Okay, so number four, we're paying too much for marketing, and that marketing isn't working, right? So when I come in and look at a client's books, I look at their marketing spend and I see, okay, is it actually giving a return? We know marketing is essential, and we even say that it's required. But if you're spending thousands on ads, SEO, social media, and you're not tracking those results, you could be wasting a ton of money. I'm gonna give y'all an example of what I actually had to get on myself last year, right? So last year, I hired a company and spent 5 figures on advertising. I mean, I spent a ton, the most I've ever spent, right? I ended up staying with these folks way too long, and they were just totally inefficient, right? Part of the reason was because I wasn't tracking the results like I was supposed to, right? I was with them 6 months. I spent a whole lot of money. They were supposed to do some ad work, right, to get to help me get leads and get clients in, and all this stuff they promised, right? Hey, we're gonna keep working with you if you don't get any money or if you don't get any leads or anything like this. Well, 6 months, right? Let me tell you what happened. I spent all that money. I only got two calls, and out of the two calls, I got one sale. When I really did finally sit down and look at this, my return on ad spend was astronomical, right? I was like, man, you know what? I would rather just go and just do regular social media posting on my own and just work on referrals. So that's what I did. I ended up just getting rid of that firm and like, hey, look, we're gonna cut this cost because it doesn't make sense for us. Number five, buying things for your future growth that you don't need yet. Now, many business owners spend money on things they think they need in the future. Fancy office spaces, high-end equipment, expensive software. Matter of fact, some of y'all may have an eyes on like a whole work duty truck with the big tires and the big rims and all this type of stuff with the signs wrapped all on it. But the thing is, if you don't have a revenue to justify it, why go spend all that money right now beforehand, right? So, for example, right, you might be a business owner and you get this huge contract, and then all of a sudden you go buy this huge office space, right? Spend all this money on an office space because you think that it's going to impress clients. But the problem with that is By the time you get the contract, you realize that most of your meetings are happening online. So why you even need the office space? That's just money that you're throwing down the drain. Now you stuck in a rent, now you're stuck in a rental contract that you got to pay for years, and you literally just screwed over your profit margins, right? So in that type of situation, hey, think before you go, right? Ask yourself these questions. Do I really need that expense right now? Will this expense help me increase revenue or productivity? Better yet, if those answers are yes, okay, well, look, is there a more affordable option that will get me the same result? Right? So now, as we are tightening up our costs, right, which means we're going to try to keep every dollar we make or as much as possible, right? Here's the thing that we realize: even the most profitable businesses can go bankrupt if they don't manage their cash flow the right way. So, because profit is great, if the cash isn't in your account when you need it, your business can still run out of money, right? I've seen it happen too many times. And that's why the next profit driver is going to be so important. Managing your cash smartly so that you never have to stress about whether there's enough money in the bank. Okay, so when it comes to cash flow, it usually comes down to one of these 5 mistakes, right? Number one, letting customers pay late. We talked about this already, but just to rehash it again, right? One of the fastest ways to run out of money is letting customers take too long to pay you. I'm living proof of this. This is something that even myself, I'm constantly getting over, and I'm constantly having to improve on this myself, right? If you're delivering a service or a product and you're not getting paid up front, and you're letting them like hold their payments for weeks or even months, you're basically giving your customers an interest-free loan while you are struggling to pay your bills. The fix for this is, I'm gonna tell you again, if your sales are under $5 million, do not sell on credit. Listen to me again. Bring the camera closer. Do not sell on credit. Make them auto pay you. Get that card, put them on an auto draft, put them on an auto pay, and then charge it, right? If you choose to decide to go down to the sell on credit, switch your terms to net 15 instead of net 30. Make them even require a 50% up deposit so that you have something, right? And maybe another thing is like I said, set automated invoice reminders so clients never forget to pay. A great solution would be, again, partner with companies like Affirm or Klarna that can take care of the risk of those payers while you get your money up front. Okay, so number two, spending money before it's in the bank. Another big cash flow mistake is like I said, spending that money before you actually have it, right? Many small business owners, when they see a big sale come in, right, they immediately start spending. They'll start to ramp up their marketing. They start to hire people. They even start to say, hey, look, I'm going to celebrate a little bit and start kind of buying all these personal expenses. But the issue is you're doing that without waiting for the cash to actually hit your account, right? Here's the problem with that. If that payment gets delayed, you're going to find yourself in a cash crunch, right? So, for example, I had a client who landed like $100,000 contract. This was a couple years ago. This dude started hiring staff. He started upgrading equipment. But I talked about that truck, right? He was one of the ones I'm talking about. Had to went and wanted to get the big truck, wrap it, get the big rims, big tires, and all this. He wanted to do all that stuff before they even paid their first invoice, right? And guess what happened? He got all that stuff. He started to service them, and that company said, "Hey, instead of us paying you 30 days, our contract, we're gonna adjust the contract to pay you net 60, which is basically 60 days out from the time you perform the service or the time you give your invoice, right?" Well, his bills were due in 30 days, but the client was going to pay him in 60 days, right? So when that payment got delayed, he had to scramble to cover his payroll. He had to scramble to cover, all these expenses. He literally went from loan company to loan company to loan company every other month, looking for like lines of credits, looking for loans to kind of cover that backfill. And he never really saw any like cash improvement into his status, right? So here's the fix for that, right? So one of the things I always tell people is When you have those type of contracts, especially like if you're going to run into a grant and all this type of stuff, right? Don't go making big financial commitments until that money actually hits your account, right? Have a cash in hand rule. Only spend the money that's 100% available to you, right? Not don't operate on promises. So before you make that big purchase, again, we're going to ask those same questions. Do you have the cash for this right now? We want to make sure that before you go out and start committing yourself to all these different payments, that money is actually in your account that you can actually suffice covering those bills. Okay, so number 3, not saving for taxes and then turn around and getting hit with that huge tax bill, right? Tax season is the same time every year, so it should not be a surprise, right? But for many business owners, they always act like it is. And it's the craziest thing. To this day, I still don't understand that, right? Nothing is more worse than getting to tax season and realizing that you owe thousands of dollars that you weren't prepared for, right? Let's talk about a client of mine, right? This is a business owner that I work with. He made 300,000 in revenue, but he didn't set aside money for taxes, right? At the end of the year, he got hit with a $30,000 tax bill and had no idea how to pay it, right? Payment plans, he didn't have the cash flow. I mean, it was kind of like one of those things where he was operating on credit, and then all of a sudden he got hit with this tax bill. His books weren't done, all of this, right? So here's the fix, and I'm gonna just kind of go right into it. So here's the fix. Get you a tax planner, not a tax preparer, right? There's a major, major difference. And I'll do another video on this. Get a tax planner. Have them forecast out your taxes during the year so that way at the end of the year, it's not a problem. Second thing you want to do is when you start to bring in income, you start to bring in revenues, set aside 20 to 30, 25 to 30% of every dollar that you make, right? Set it into a separate savings account and then pay quarterly estimated taxes on that money, right? Don't just wait till the end of the year to pay your taxes. Pay them throughout the year. It's a whole lot cheaper to do that. Number 4, another issue is not having a cash reserve, right? And that leaves you vulnerable for emergencies. If your business doesn't have a cash reserve, one bad month can put you in crisis mode. I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean by this. I had a client who's a truck driver. He traveled long distance, right? He was building his business and he fell into a situation like this last year where he was out in California. He's from Houston. His 18 wheeler broke down. He had a $10,000 load that he had to be delivered in that week. But while he was out on the road, again, his truck broke down. He had no emergency reserve. The repairs to get that truck back up cost him $7,000, right? And he didn't have no money available to really pay for it. All he had was enough money to, obviously cover his fuel and get back, right? So while he was out on the road, he had to basically go out and take, payday loans, high interest loans, just to cover that cost, right? Very, very, very expensive, a very, very expensive lesson for him. So what we want to do as small business owners, we want to first build a cash reserve of at least 3 months worth of expenses, right? And that is just a start. We eventually want to make this to where we have up to a year saved up. But we're going to start at 3 months, right? Even if you start small, put aside a small percentage of every sale into emergency fund. I recommend anywhere from 5 to 10%, right? Of whatever you make, put that aside to, for an emergency fund. Now, calculate that, whatever your monthly expenses are, and then set a goal that says, hey, look, we're going to try to save at least 3 months worth of expenses in that cash reserve. Number 5, not tracking your cash flow on a weekly basis. Most businesses who struggle, they rarely track their cash flow, right? To start. Now, the ones that are barely getting by don't track it on a weekly basis, right? So what we want to do is we want to know exactly what's coming in and what's coming out. And we want to know that every week so that we're never caught off guard, right? So now here's an example, right? So if you are someone who's profitable on paper, but you're always struggling to pay bills, a lot of that reason that's the reason why is because you're probably not tracking your money when it's coming in versus when those payments are due, right? If you would try just setting up a weekly cash report that shows you what's coming in on a weekly basis, then what you should be able to do is you should be able to tie that back to when your bills are due and just slide those in. And it should tell you, okay, how much cash I have left at the end of the week. What that allows you to do is it allows you to track your spending. It says, okay, well, look, I know I can't go buy any big purchases if I got tight margins within those weeks, right? And hopefully what that will do is at the end of the month, that should allow you to accumulate cash from those weeks where you say, hey, look, my goal is to make a profit this week by not overspending. So what will happen is those at the end of the month, those profits will accumulate to where now you should have enough cash flow to where you can plan out. This is, hey, I want to do a big expenditure. I can just delay it instead of trying to do it in this week or next week. I can wait till the end of the month once all my cash comes in. Okay, so now that we've covered the 5 biggest profit drivers, right? Knowing your break-even point, charging the right price, getting customers to buy more, keeping those costs down, and then managing your cash smartly, right? If you just start applying some of these, right, you're going to see a massive shift in your business finances. But here's the thing: knowing these profit drivers is one thing, actually implementing them is another, right? I've seen so many business owners get stuck because they don't have a clear, simple system to make these changes easy and automatic. And that's why I created a new system, a step-by-step process that takes the guesswork out of all of your profits, making sure that you always have cash when you need it. Okay, so the system that I designed, right? The purpose of it is to take you from financial confusion to complete clarity. So if you're a business owner and you're looking to implement this system, you don't even need to be a numbers person to do it, right? You don't need to spend a whole lot of hours on bookkeeping. And then last but not least, you don't have to necessarily worry about money, right? This system takes care of all that for you. So let me introduce you to the system that will completely change the way you run your business. It's a step-by-step framework that simplifies everything, and it helps you take control of your cash flow profitably and growth without even needing an accounting degree or even spending hours every week drowning in spreadsheets. This system is designed for busy people that are just like you, who want results and don't have time to waste. So let me walk you through how it works. Step 1, the profit and cash clarity dashboard, right? The first part of this system is about getting clarity. You can't fix what you can't track, right? Or what you don't track. Most small business owners have no idea where their money is going. That's why I developed a simple, easy to use dashboard that tells you exactly where you stand financially at a glance. With this system, there are 4 things you're going to realize. You're going to realize your real profit, not just what's in your bank account, how much cash is coming in and going out each week, your break-even points, so you know exactly when you're profitable, and whether your pricing is actually working, right? So, for example, one of my clients that made over $500,000 last year used this system. And when we set up his dashboard, he realized he was actually losing money because his pricing and his costs were off. Within 60 days, we fixed his pricing and cash flow, and he turned a loss into a $10,000 profit. Okay, step 2, we're going to call this the profit power formula. Now that you have clarity, right, the next step is to optimize your profit using my profit power formula. This formula ensures that every dollar in your business is working for you, not against you, right? Here's how this works. We're going to optimize your pricing so you're not leaving money on the table. We're going to identify and eliminate profit leaks in your business. And then we're also going to set up a cash flow plan so you never run out of money. So my system will walk you through each step of this formula so you'll know exactly what changes to make to maximize your profit. Okay, so step 3, the smart cash flow framework, right? The third part of this system is where most business owners drop the ball: managing cash flow the right way. Because here's the thing: even if you're making great money, if your cash isn't managed properly, you still will struggle to pay your bills, cover payroll, or even pay yourself consistently. So my smart cash framework solves this by 1, setting up a weekly cash flow check-in so you never feel lost. Number 2, it creates a weekly allocation system so you always pay yourself. And then number 3, we automate your tax savings so you're never caught off guard. With this system, you'll never wonder if you can afford to pay yourself or even reinvest into your business again. Step 4, the tax minimization playbook, right? If you don't have a plan for taxes, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Or worse, you're actually setting yourself up for a financial nightmare, right? Most business owners, they overpay in taxes because they, 1, don't track deductions properly. They don't structure their business in the right way. And then, 3, they simply just wait until tax season to figure it all out, right? These are the worst possible things that you can actually do if you're a business owner. Those are costly mistakes. Here's how my tax minimization playbook will actually work. So three ways, right? So the first one, we'll set up your business structure for the best tax advantages. Number 2, we'll track it, categorize your expenses in the right way so you don't overpay. And then 3, we'll implement tax saving strategies that can save you thousands, right? Here's an example. So a business owner I work with was overpaying by $50,000 a year in taxes, right? Just because he didn't have the right structure. With this system, we were able to restructure his business, optimize his deductions, and put that money back into his pocket, right? So with this system, tax time will no longer be a stressful and struggle for you, right? You'll be prepared, you'll be confident, and you'll be keeping more of what you earn. Okay, so step 5, right? The scalable business wealth plan. Finally, the last part of this system ensures that you're not just making money, you're building long-term wealth, right? But let's be honest. If you're running a business just to make ends meet, you're still stuck in a job. Real freedom comes from scaling your profits and making the money work for you. With a scalable wealth business plan, you'll be able to set up a system for paying yourself first, so you always get paid. Number 2, we will create a cash reserve for you so you never feel financially stuck. And then 3, we'll put a plan in place to reinvest in your business, back into your business the right way. So, success story, right? So I had a client who was making multiple 6 figures, but had nothing saved and wasn't even paying themselves consistently. Using this system, we put a wealth building plan in place, and within a year, they had a 6-figure cash reserve while still trying to grow their business, right? So with this system, you'll finally have a financial strategy that gives you both profitability now and financial security for the future. Okay, so that's my system, right? The simple step-by-step framework that will transfer the way you manage your business finances. So I'm just going to recap this real quick. So there's 5 steps to it. Step 1, profit and cash clarity dashboard. Basically, we're going to put this together so you always know where you stand. Number 2, the profit power formula, right? We're going to maximize your take-home profit. Step 3, the smart cash flow framework, right? We're putting this together so you'll never run out of cash, right? So number 4, the tax minimization playbook. This is a playbook that we'll put together so you'll always be able to keep more of what you earn. Step 5, the scalable business wealth plan, right? So what this is this is basically something we'll put together for you so you can build not just profits now, but long-term financial security going forward. This system is designed to be so simple, it's fast, and it's easy to implement. There's no complicated spreadsheets. There's no overwhelming accounting jargon or anything like that. It's just a simple, clear path to a more profitable, stress-free business. And if you're ready to put this system to work in your business, let's talk. Let's have that conversation, right? Book a free strategy call with me, and I'll walk you through exactly how to apply this system to your business starting today. Okay, so you've now seen how this system works and how it can completely transform your business finances. But before you book a call, I want to be very, 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 very upfront. This is not for everyone. This system is for serious business owners who are ready to take control of their finances. They're ready to increase their profits, and they're ready to stop the cycle of just financial stress, right? So let me break this down so you'll know exactly who this is for and who is not for, right? This offer is for you if, 1, you are a business owner making at least $250,000 in annual revenue. The reason why we want people that are at $250,000 and above is because this system works best for established businesses that are at least bringing in that type of revenue, right? If you're generating revenue but struggling to turn it into consistent profit, this is the offer that you need. You don't have a sales problem. We don't even believe that you have a profit problem either, right? What we believe you have is a cash flow problem, and that's exactly what we're here to help you fix. So number 2, if you're tired of feeling like you're making money but not keeping it, your business is making money, but your bank account doesn't show it. Maybe you're paying everybody else. You're paying your team, you're paying your vendors, you're paying the IRS, you're paying all these other people, but there's nothing left for you, right? So if you finally want to take control of your cash and get clear on where your money's going and actually keep more of what you earn, this offer's for you, right? Number 3, you want a simple, repeatable system that works without all that complicated accounting jargon, right? This system is built for business owners, not accountants. That means there's no confusing spreadsheets, no complex financial reports, just a clear step-by-step process to follow. Number 4, you want to keep more of your money and pay less in taxes. Most small business owners are overpaying by thousands in taxes, right? Every year because they don't have a tax strategy in place. If you want to legally keep more of your hard-earned money instead of handing it over to the IRS, this is the system that will show you how to do that. Number 5, if you're ready to make a smart financial decision and do it with confidence, this is the offer for you. We want to make sure that this isn't based on a gut feeling. We want to make sure to give you a system that is clear and the strategies that you need to scale the right way. This offer isn't for you if, number 1, you're not willing to take control of your finances, right? If you're not willing to stay in the dark, if you're willing to stay in the dark about your numbers, you want to avoid tracking your finances. If you think that your cousin down the street or this truck driver that you learned some tax strategies from, if you think that they're, or even just getting on Google and all that, if you think all that is good, then this offer isn't for you, right? Number 2, this offer isn't for you if you're just starting out and you don't have revenue yet. If you're still in the idea stage and you hadn't started generating revenue yet, then this system's going to be a little bit more advanced, right? We want you to start making money first before you can optimize this. Number 3, if you're looking for a get-rich-quick fix, this is not a magic pill. You got to put in the work with this, right? This is a real system that requires real action. If you're just looking for a shortcut without putting in the work, this is not the offer that you want to take part of. Number 4, you're not open to make financial change. If you want to stay set in your ways and not willing to adjust your pricing, spending habits, or even a cash flow strategy, then this system won't work for you, right? It only works if you're willing to make the necessary changes. Number 5, you're not ready to invest in business growth. If you're not ready to invest in business growth, then again, this offer may not be for you, right? Because this system is going to save you time, it's going to save you money, it's going to increase your profits, and it'll give you financial freedom. But the thing is, you're going to have to sacrifice and take some action on your side and invest in making changes. So look, I know how easy it is to put this off. You tell yourself all the time, I'm going to get my finances ready together next month. Then next month turn to the next quarter. And before you know it, another year has passed. And you're still in the same place, wondering where all your money went. But here's the truth. Nothing changes unless you change. Your business will not suddenly become more profitable. Your cash flow won't magically improve. And the IRS, they won't suddenly decide to just charge you less in taxes, right? So if you want to take control of your finances, increase your profits, and actually keep more of what you earn, you're going to have to make that decision today, right? And I'm giving you a simple way to start. All I need you to do is just book a simple free strategy call with me, right? No charge. Let's take at least 30 minutes to look at your numbers, find the leaks in your business, and let's just create a plan to fix it. Okay, if you haven't acted yet, that means you're probably standing at a crossroads right now. So if it's you, you have 2 choices. Let's look at it. Let's look at option 1. Option 1 means you can keep doing what you've been doing, right? You can keep guessing about your finances. You can keep feeling stressed about when tax season rolls around. You can keep wondering why your business isn't making money. You can keep wondering, keep guessing, right? Or you can come over here to option 2, where you can get a right system in place, right? You can get clarity on your cash flow and your profits. You can stop overpaying in taxes. You can start building a business that actually pays you well. You can try to figure this out alone over here in option 1, spending hours of Google's, trying to Google financial strategy, want to watch hours on YouTube looking at how-to videos on how to do all this stuff. And then, at the end of the day, you're second guessing numbers because, again, you're hoping that you're making the right decision. Or you can come on this side. It says, hey, you can just work with me, get a clear, simple system that's already proven to work, so you can skip the trial and error and start to see results immediately. So maybe you're wondering, what is it like to work with me? So let's do this. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly how much money your business is making, how much profit you're keeping, and exactly what's happening with your cash flow. No more guessing, no more financial stress, no more scrambling at tax time. When you work with me, there are 5 things that you can expect. Number 1, you can expect a step-by-step system that makes your business simple. Number 2, you can expect clear and actionable strategies that increase your profits immediately. Number 3, you can expect a game plan. to keep more cash in your business and in your pocket. Number 4, you can expect a customized tax strategy that ensures you never have to overpay again. And then last but not least, number 5, you will have ongoing support. So you're never out there feeling lost or confused, right? So with my system, you don't have to be a numbers person. You don't have to spend hours buried in spreadsheets. And you don't have to do this alone. I've helped businesses just like you go from financial stress to financial confidence without having to spend more time or even working harder. And if you're ready to finally get your finances in order, now's the time to act. Book your free strategy call today, and let's take that first step towards a profitable, stress-free business. Okay, so if you are an established business owner who's tired of feeling stuck and wants to finally take control of your business finances, then I want to invite you to book a free strategy call with me, right? So on this call, what we're going to do is we're going to go over your financial situation. We're going to identify where you're losing money, and then we're going to map out a strategy to start increasing your profits immediately. Click on the link below and book your free strategy call now. Don't wait. I can only take so many clients, right? Because I'm doing this myself. So spaces aren't limited. And to be honest with you, I only want to work with business owners who are very, very serious about making real financial changes. All right, that's it. If you're enjoying the Zero to Profits podcast and found value in today's episode, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content. Also, I want to hear about the topics that matter to you as a business owner the most, right? So please leave a comment. Let me know, right? Your feedback helps me shape future episodes, right? So let me know what you want to hear about next. Thank you for tuning into the Zero to Profits podcast. Let's keep growing and scaling together. Until then, it's coming.